From Wundt to Aristotle, today we will discover the origins of the Tao, the difference between the East and the West, and all the connections to be made between philosophy and psychology.
Okay, so I'm gonna hear you some questions. You gotta hit me with some answers, okay?
I'll do my best.
And maybe some questions back. Okay. When did philosophy first become known?
So, what's your understanding of the ancient world of philosophy so far?
Ancient world of philosophy. I know it's about theories, and I know there's a really big name that it's kind of the only one I know, really. I'm not going to say it right now, but it'll come down later on the line. I know it's about making theories about the world and making your own mind up and stuff like that. I know that.
That's pretty accurate. Philosophy comes from the Greek root of philos, which means love, and sophos, which means wisdom. And it really just translates to the love of wisdom. For thousands of years, people have engaged in philosophical thought. You know, just the pursuit of knowledge for the sake of knowledge.
You hear that, nerds? You're an important part of history.
So, Gex, what's your knowledge of ancient China and their philosophies?
Ancient China and their philosophies? I know nothing.
Did you know that at the time there was a philosopher by the name of Lao Tzu who came up with the idea of the Tao? Do you know what the Tao is?
No clue. I am your student. You're my teacher. I'm basically the audience, but in front of you.
Well, at the time, people wanted to have almost like a state-sponsored religion, but they took it in the form of philosophy. The Tao is not just a way of life, it is the essence of life. Have you ever seen the symbols of the yin and yang, the black and white?
Yep, the balance. I know all about it. My life. I always talk about it, bro. I can't lie.
Well, that is a Taoist philosophy.
It is?
It is. It is indeed. The difference between the Tao, which is Eastern philosophy, the difference between those two and, say, Western philosophy is much more oriented towards the gods.
That sounds interesting. Tell me more.
Oh, what would you like to know?
Who was the most credited philosopher back then?
All right, so the most credited philosopher, huh? That's a hard question to really ask, but most people would say Socrates, at least here in the West anyways. Did you know that Socrates was the teacher or mentor for both Aristotle and Plato?
I didn't know that, but now I do, and now you guys do too.
Do you know what an academy is?
An academy is somewhere you go to learn or be trained.
Yeah, precisely. One of Socrates' students, Plato, was the first one to develop the academy.
Sounds pretty interesting to be developing an academy of Socrates.
Yeah, he was kind of the stuff back then. It's more Plato's work, but you know, everything kind of comes down to that.
What piece of work do you think made them popular?
Oh, okay. So obviously, Socrates trained both Aristotle and Plato. That probably put him up there for that reason alone. Plato came up with the academy, as we all know. But on the Eastern front, Confucius was known for his school of philosophy, which was a legal philosophy, more
like law.
To put it in less elegant terms. Are you familiar with Confucianism?
Never heard of it. I've never heard of half of these things. I'm just saying. So this is new.
Oh, well, neither am I.
Wait, you don't even know?
No. Well, Confucius was around the same time that Guangzhong was.
Oh, okay. You know your stuff.
He was around about the 600s BCs. He came after Guangzhong. So how do I put this? Duke Huan of Xi was the leader of, he was one of the 5 hegemons.
Does that sound like Pokemon to you guys?
It does kind of sound like Pokemon. You know, I thought the same thing when I first looked it up.
Sounds crazy though, doesn't it? Jeez.
It does kind of sound like Pokemon. It actually means dominant, lord, or leader.
Dominant lord, that's a whole different thing for what Pokemon means. Dang.
It is. It's not even, it's nothing to do with pocket monsters. Not even close.
Not close. Pocket monsters?
Yeah, that's what Pokemon means.
Hold on. Dial it. Dial it back. Dial it back.
Dial it back.
Dial it back. See, was it? Wait, well, I asked that question, haven't we? What made you?
Well, hold on now. I'm not finished.
Damn. He's not finished, guys.
The Duke Huan of Qi was known to Confucius to be one of the legal philosophers of his time. And many of his followers or practitioners kind of scoffed at the idea of someone who would take in such indulgences. So you kind of get almost stereotypical Buddhist line of thought from Confucius.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Am I losing you?
I do.
I must be losing you.
You're losing me because I already forgot what we were talking about because we said about Pokemon.
That's fine.
That's where you lost me because I really forgot.
Well,
Nah, yeah, I heard Pokemon. My brain was away.
oh, lost you at the Pokemon, huh? You were concerned with like Onyx and Pikachu.
Yeah, nah, for real. Nah.
You thought Pikachu was in this story somewhere.
Waiting on that Pikachu reference, saying like Pikachu was the best philosopher there was, and like he made everyone believe that he had a black tip of his tail when he didn't.
Well, believe it or not, I believe that electricity could have been one of the primordial elements. I believe that would have been under air.
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
So yeah, Pikachu could have definitely been something, they believed in.
Okay, why do people actually get interested in philosophy, do you think?
I believe that people are curious creatures, and that's basically all you need.
You believe that they're curious creatures. What about, okay, this is dipping your toe into another episode of philosophy, but what do you think about the theory that there's 3 different types of people, philosophy-wise? There's the philosophical, I don't know how to say it, zombie. There's the one that questions it halfway, right? Doesn't get too into it. Kind of an NPC, right? Half of an NPC, half of a, if you want to go gaming time. And then there's the dude, well, the philosopher, should I say, What do you think about that one?
What do you mean by philosophical zombie or philosopher zombie?
That they're happy to agree with every terms and conditions in life. They're happy to go day from day, not worrying about where they came from, why this does this, whatever, That type of person. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just in technological terms or simple layman's terms, you could explain it better as a philosopher. I can't say it. This is going to be a whole like trending thing throughout this whole podcast. Me not even be able to saying philosophical.
Philosophical.
That's the word, right? Oh my gosh, I might have got it just then. Clap. Philosophical. I can't say it. It's going to be a whole thing. I'm telling you. But yeah.
Well, I guess that kind of depends on your philosophy. You see, starting with the zombies, right? The people that kind of just go with the flow and do whatever life kind of hands them. David Hume, an English philosopher, made the argument that life is kind of what you make it in the people that are around you. You just kind of don't concern yourself with things that are not or could be or were. Just live in the moment, Kind of a cool philosophy to have sometimes.
Live in the moment. It is. When you don't want to worry about everything, that's when that philosophy does come in handy, I think.
Well, I've always looked at the different philosophical ideas as like a toolkit to kind of approach things in life that you need to think about. Aristotle and his idea of what a man is might not be applicable to someone in the 21st century.
Yeah, nah, you're sure right about that one. There is a whole lot of difference between someone from that age and a man from this age. We will not go into detail, by the way.
Did you know he once thought that man was just a bipedal, hairless animal?
What is a bipedal?
Bipedal means they stand on two legs.
Oh, okay.
So there's actually kind of a funny story about that one. So Aristotle was in the middle of a lecture talking about how, mankind is just a bipedal, hairless animal. And then Diogenes comes through and he presents to him a plucked chicken. And he says, "There's your man."
That's okay.
No, nothing.
I see the joke. No, I see the joke in that one. I see the joke. I would laugh, but it's like midday and I haven't been asleep. So maybe that's another joke for another time. But I understand the joke. It's like
oh, Diogenes was a jokester.
Oh, if you think that little of men is your man, then it's a chicken.
He was a joker too, Diogenes. He was actually the first cynic. I guess you could call him the father of cynicism, which in philosophical terms is not the jaded outlook on life. It's a more practical way of looking at things.
Cynic, what's that?
Cynicism? It's kind of in modern terms, it's more like a
cynical means like cunning, isn't it?
Like a downcast look upon life. Like everything's kind of got its own bad side, it's a jaded way of looking at life.
That's just pessimism, isn't it?
It is kind of like pessimism. Cynicism and pessimism, at least in layman terms, are very similar. If you really kind of want to get an idea of what cynicism was about, there's some anecdotes about Diogenes. He came from I believe he came from an ancient Greek city-state. I can't recall the exact one right now, but he was once charged with defrauding the state.
Defrauding?
Because he made his own money. Because he thought, why on earth?
Defrauded the state, people.
He frauded the state. Yeah. He was the first forger.
Oh, that's what that means.
Yeah, he was forging currency way back then.
Bad man.
He is also there was one time the town was under attack and everyone was running around screaming, because, there's an invading army at the door, right? Like,
makes sense. Like,
what would you do if your town was under attack, right?
Post-apocalyptics, go in a bunker, hide down, get all your stuff.
See now, this is the beauty of Diogenes here. He decided, no, I'm not going to do that. You know what he did? He took a barrel. He went up to the hill. He rolled the barrel up the hill. He rolled it back down the hill. He rolled it back up the hill, and he rolled it back down the hill.
What did he do that for?
Well, the townsfolk had the same question. And he said, all this fretting and worrying that you guys are doing right now won't stop the invasion. This is about...
Oh, neuron activation.
He was basically trying to make a point about the invasion and how everybody was acting. He was like, this is...
Yeah, I got it. Blew my mind.
It's kind of funny how he died too.
Like everything can be perfect if you believe that, if you just believe that everything's fine. Whereas everyone else is fretting about the worries of what might happen.
I mean, he was more concerned with the practical nature of things. Why run around with your head like a chicken cut off when there's people coming around?
Headless chicken. Don't run around like a headless chicken.
Yeah, he was an interesting character. He was kind of weird.
Oh, that might actually be my favorite character that you've talked about today. I can't lie.
Diogenes?
That might be my favorite one. The one that you've talked about today, I think out of every one of them, that's my favorite one.
Oh, he's hilarious. Did you know he once was found in the market with a little light, and he was they were like, "What are you doing walking around with this candle, man? It's like broad daylight, And he's like, "I'm looking for someone who's smart. I can't find anybody with a light."
Yeah. Okay.
He was a cocky guy too.
Yo, we might have to do a whole episode on this dude. I'm not gonna lie. I'm interested. I'm really interested.
We might have to. I'm not gonna lie. He's an interesting character.
Okay.
But anyways, without spoiling too much, yeah, he was an interesting character. One time, Julius Caesar, right?
Yeah, I got stabbed like 29 times or 39 times. I don't even remember how many, but yeah, I'd learned that in English.
So you know the importance of like emperors and everything to the ancient Greeks were the Romans and all of them, right?
Yeah.
Granted, the ancient Greeks are a little different, but
A whole nother story.
anyways, basically the emperor comes up to Diogenes. He's going out throughout the lands looking for this man. He wants to learn how to be like Diogenes. He wants to learn his philosophy. He thinks it's going to help him become a better emperor, right?
Yes.
So finally, he gets up there. He finds Diogenes, and he's sunbathing on the grass.
Oh, I'll be a bit of suntan.
He asked him. He says, "Oh, Diogenes, would you please teach me your ways?" Diogenes, like the total baddie he was, right? He's like, "You're blocking my sun."
The anti-hero, bro. He's the anti-hero. I'm telling you, he's the Deadpool. He's the Deadpool of philosophy. That is what we will name the episode when we do it. Introducing the Deadpool of philosophy, bro. I'm not gonna lie, that's what it sounds like right now.
The Deadpool of philosophy. I think that's probably a nickname he'd like.
Probably.
He died eating bad octopus.
He didn't even know who Deadpool was.
No. But I imagine, his philosophy on life would probably lend to really liking him.
Isn't that very ironic? Because, oh no, is it octopus that shoots ink? That's squid, isn't it?
They both shoot ink.
They both do that.
Yeah, they both do.
Okay, they both shoot ink. So it's kind of funny. What I was gonna say is kind of funny how he died eating bad octopus. And octopus. Okay, this is gonna sound like a long shot, but octopuses shoot ink, and he was a philosopher, so he used the pen a lot. So he was all about writing his own theories down, and he died with ink in his mouth.
I would say yes, but at that time, I believe they used chisel and stone.
Oh, crud.
But A for effort, is what it is. So what draws you to all these questions, Gex? Why do you what's your sudden fascination with philosophy?
Well, maybe it's my age, given good fact I'm 19, or maybe it's my curiosity. I guess I've always been curious about stuff and how life works. I know my age is, I'm supposed to be curious. I think I'm extra curious, and it just interests me into the hypotheticalness of searching for these answers, like the stupid theories, even just not believing that they exist, but believing in the theories, like the idea of like going down a hypothetical route. What if this happened? What if that happened? And trying to use logic to piece it together. That is interesting to me, but mainly the brain, okay? Mainly the brain, the philosophy of the brain. That's what interests me the most.
So you're more of a theory of mind kind of guy, perhaps even a psychology kind of guy.
This guy around the dot, huh? No, I think recently though, like I've just kind of come into learning about the brain, and I'm actually really interested into it. Even though I didn't pass biology, for people that want to know, didn't pass. I was 1 mark off. If so help me, I find that biology teacher that didn't mark me, didn't give me that 1 mark that I probably did get, but they didn't write it down right. So help me. That examiner, so help me.
That's a lot of resentment there, Gex. I don't know if you should hold on to that any longer. Just do better.
Yeah. I didn't need it. I don't really care for the biology grade. I can't lie. I really don't care for that. But anyway, for the bit. Anyway, as you were saying.
Oh well, what do you know about the theory of mind, Gecko?
Theory of mind.
Wait, take a guess as to what it might mean.
That it's a cognitive machine. I don't know. I don't know the full theory of the mind at the minute.
Well, I suppose you would be kind of right in a lot of ways, but I don't know if you quite. So the theory of mind comes from a lot of spiritual traditions, like meditation through practice.
Ooh.
Things like
ooh.
Oh, well, yeah.
I have a question. Somewhat like the third eye, opening the third eye, right?
That could be concerned with the spiritual nature of the theory of mind. This was all before psychology became a science, but many theologians, which are people that study, divinity and things like that, they are kind of the ones that led the charge when it came to things like consciousness and thought, desire, behavior. Yeah.
Oh, like the soul, like like the book you. Oh my, people. Okay, hold on. I just wanna hold on. Ow. I just want to talk about this quick thing, right? He sent me a book, right? He told me to go get this book. He suggested this book. So I got it. It's by this dude, this philosopher called René Descartes. I said that mad wrong because I am not French. I don't know how to say it. But it's about the meditations on the first philosophy, right? And it says about the soul, the proving of the soul and the proving of God. And I'm not going to get too far into it, but it's a pretty good book. I like it. It's really interesting. But yeah, the soul, that's what I was going to say. I don't know why I linked the book to it, but if you did want to read that, no hashtag ad, but if you did want to read it, it's a good book.
We're not sponsored, by the way. He's kind of dead by a long time. Just wisdom. That's all you'll get. It's not worth much, but you know.
Yeah, it's a nice digestible starter, is what I'm saying. Is what I think. I think at least the Oxford version or the modern version is way more digestible than obviously the original, but it makes sense.
He's an excellent writer. He went through a lot, too, to kind of rediscover himself and his belief systems. Even though he never really changed them, so to speak, he definitely thought critically on why he had them. And that's kind of what shaped that whole book, really.
Okay, psychology segment, or are we going to wrap up the philosophy segment in like a neat little bundle?
I was hoping we could wrap it up a little bit, in a nice little bow, then make our way to the psychology department.
Okay, Santa. At least Navidad all the way home.
Yeah, ho, ho, ho.
Never say that again.
Merry philosopher.
To wrap it up, though, I remember that you said something about Greece and China being one of the first to establish philosophy and to be more advanced because of it, right? Or to get it because they were more advanced, right? Stop me if I'm wrong.
Well, to say that they established it is kind of a misnomer because there's always been thinkers, right? There's always been people that have kind of wanted to know more, wanted to learn more.
Yeah.
It's more like those are just the earliest records of philosophical thought and reasoning that we have on file.
But to put a label on it.
Yeah. Like Empedocles, for example, who until very recently in modern history, we attributed to understanding the curvature of the earth through him. He was ancient Greek. He actually got his work from Eratosthenes from Cyrene. So, philosophy could go back as far as ancient Sumeria.
Everyone's stealing from each other.
Yeah, basically.
It could go back as far as cavemen if you were the first caveman to start thinking.
I guess it'd be kind of rude to compare Sumerians to cavemen, but that's basically what I think of them as.
Well, yeah. To put a label on it, yeah. Populated in Greece and China. So who was the most credited back then? And as we all know, it was Socrates. Socrates. I don't know how to say it. I'm sorry. Why do you think people are interested in philosophy? More of a personal question, but people are interested because they've always been interested somewhat in some line of matter about where they came from, and the fear of the unknown maybe forced that onto people. I don't know, but I think it's time for psychology segment. But what are your final thoughts on philosophy before we do move on?
My final thoughts on philosophy, and if we're going to wrap this up into a little bow, I suppose, a gift to you, young gecko, is always stay curious. Always keep your mind open and your heart free.
Never know who's the next pessimist to close your heart.
Definitely try to avoid them. Unless, of course, you're Emile Cioran, but that's another one for another day.
Never heard that one, but it sounds interesting. You keep teasing me just like you're teasing everyone else. I bet they're waiting, bro. Okay, so the next one is going to be a psychology segment. Let's dip our toes into psychology now. We are going to be starting off with a good bit of knowledge by asking, what are the three main things that psychology teaches you that you think are the basics?
Mind, thought, and consciousness. They sound similar. They're slightly different in very important ways.
I can second that. If you didn't think before you spoke, well, I should say that'd be a whole lot of consequences.
True. Thought, the ability to think. Some people believe that's a divine gift,
I've heard that, actually. Surprisingly, I've heard that. Why were we the only people on Earth to get the idea of thought?
The world may never know, but the world may know. That's the study of psychology in a lot of ways. Not the origins of thought, but the root cause of it, the behaviors that arise from thought.
Yeah.
Which is also also partly why consciousness and mind are integral to the psychological tenets. Like consciousness, for example, just being aware of our experiences, being aware of our thoughts, our emotions. We wouldn't be able to really comprehend anything if we weren't aware.
Being aware of pretty much everything, our senses, our five senses, that too, more of a nerve system. First of all, where did psychology first come from? Hello there. Sorry, people. This is after the podcast was recorded, but we had a few technical problems, so I'm sorry about the audio. Let us start the psychology segment right away, and I will start by asking you the first question. What are the three main things that psychology teaches you, or that you think that is needed for psychology in the basics?
Biggest things, I think, in psychology, hugely influenced by Jung, is consciousness, thought, and mind. That's kind of the major tenets of psychology.
It makes sense. It's a brain science.
Yeah, it's different, these each have their own kind of varied definitions, but they're all different in their own aspect too. Like consciousness, or the capacity to be aware, way different from the ability to think, but they go hand in hand.
Okay. This question is just to give intel to the listener about like some key topics that they might want to know about that psychology might teach you. So from that, do you have any questions for me?
What is your thought on consciousness, Gex? I know it's a deep subject matter, but
It's a deep subject, yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like there's two types of like consciousness, if that makes sense, right? So like there's the consciousness of being, well, obviously alive and being awake. And then there's the consciousness of like the soul and that, Would
you break it down into maybe like a subconscious area of the soul part?
Like maybe like intuition almost, like whatever feels right for you. If something feels like, I don't know, let's say you're like teenagers, right? Back, and your friends try to like egg you on or something to do something, but then you don't do it because it wouldn't be right for you. Or let's say, I don't know, you make like a lifestyle choice that your parents try to force you down or something, then you don't go down it because it's not right for you.
Like morals and ethics.
Yeah.
Understand that. There's a form of conscious, to have a conscience, know what's right and what's wrong. Understand that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean like consciousness in the sense of, you're alive, and consciousness of the fact that, like that, the morals and that.
That almost tied perfectly in with the philosophy.
Damn. Any questions after that, or should we move on?
Move on.
Okay. So the next question that you probably don't have right down in the right order in your notes because somebody didn't get it right. Where did psychology first come from, do you think? And what country was psychology to first come from, if it did, or where it first populated from?
Well, psychology has been around in its earliest forms back to like ancient philosophers by theory of mind, and medieval teachings like Thomas Aquinas and things like that fall under that, or theories of self, really. Psychology as a science started in the 1800s by a man named Wilhem Wundt. He was a professor of many different fields. I believe he was a physicist, chemist, and he was the first one to put the idea forth that the mind can be quantified, that we can observe things and put a label or number on what it is that we perceive. So came out of Germany in about 1845 or so. It was really quite huge.
Sounds interesting.
You ever heard of Titchener's dozen?
Never heard of that one. The Wilhelm one, what? Yo, I can't even say it. Wilhelm Wundt?
Yeah,
I think that's
Wundt.
it.
Wilhelm
Wundt. He was also called the father of psychology, wasn't he?
He was. He was the founder of the first school of psychology, where people could get their degrees.
Do you know any names that might have been in that school?
Edward Titchener, the guy that I was trying to allude to earlier, he was a huge one. Later on, you had other figures pop up like Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung, but really in the initial days, it was a very, very different field. German psychologists really wanted to, categorize aspects of the mind. They weren't really too concerned with therapy or
for sure.
consciousness advanced in the way that we are concerned with it today. But
I mean, today is like a whole different scene, though, isn't it? Because I mean,
it's a totally different animal.
Therapy seems, I don't know, how was it recent do you think therapy is? Because it feels like historically wise, it feels very recent.
If we're looking in the grand scheme of things, therapy as performed by a psychologist is relatively new. Again, late 1800s, early 1900s, when one of the biggest names in psychology when it comes to therapy is Sigmund Freud. I mean, everyone kind of knows who he is.
Yeah.
Everyone. He came up with he came up with psychoanalysis. Are you familiar with the psychoanalytic method at all?
Please
Unfortunately,
give a little,
neither am I.
Oh, I was gonna say, please give a little insight.
Well, okay. So to say that I don't know much about it is kind of a lie. I'm not trained to practice it, but basically, you would take a client and you would set them on a couch, ask them questions about how they got here and why.
Yeah, the therapist type of way, right?
Yeah, the very, very cliche therapist way. They had a very strict way of doing it too. Like you weren't supposed to make eye contact, and it was an interesting time to be alive. I guess it helped some people, brought them back to their childhood.
Like an episode where we talk about therapy. That would be a good one. Like philosophy wise or psychology wise, one of the two. I mean, obviously, it's more going to be psychology.
When you think of psychology, Kat, what comes to mind?
Psychology, what comes to mind? At the minute, I'm still very new to it, so I need to keep up with the books, huh? I've been very distracted.
It's okay. It's one of those fields where if you don't know, you don't know, you know?
Yeah, I need to get up with the books. But yeah, why do you think that psychology is so important? This is apparently a deep question, as I wrote in my note. And it says, like, why does this matter to you? And that really gives a chance for the listener to listen to your reasoning, obviously, so they can maybe learn from it. This question's the reasoning, so people that get a better understanding of psychology and maybe the reason why you think it's so important.
Well, to me, psychology is important in the way that understanding oneself helps you understand the world around you. When you study psychology and you put into practice some of the ideas behind it, you realize that your perception of the world shapes largely how the world is for you.
That makes sense.
It's fascinating, really. The human experience is basically a series of stories that we've all told ourselves, and they've been made manifest. So, psychology, being able to look into the inner parts of our mind and see what it is that makes us tick.
The question of why this? Why that? What it appears like to me.
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain curiosity to it, you know? There's why do we do the things we do? Why do we love some people and hate others?
Why do we behave this way we do?
Yeah, and psychology has a lot of answers. They don't have all the answers, but they do help paint a bigger picture, and I think that's important.
And that makes sense. There is also like a sub-question to this, though. So if I can read all the right now, there's like a whole paragraph over here. So let me decipher. Yeah, I was gonna say add to it and say about have you ever heard of the theory about the types of people in psychology wise, right? Like, have you ever heard of zombies, NPCs, and like psychologists, basically?
Not that directly, no, but I definitely kind of see where it kind of comes from. I imagine when you say NPCs, you mean like people that behave like video game characters, right?
Yeah, I mean, I should have stated that, but that's what we're here for, you know. Like,
well, I think one of the biggest things, I'll get to that one later. The biggest things about psychology that people get wrong is categorizing people. Well, there's a lot of articles and tests and things. And there are psychometrics and things like that to kind of, diagnose or evaluate certain aspects of a person's life. I think broad generalizations are usually the downfall of most laymen in psychology. Like most people are very unique, and even the NPCs that we see walking around, so to speak, they live their own varied lives.
They definitely do. But to go off the topic, I'll explain what we're even yapping talking about right now, right? Yeah, I'll explain what we're talking about. You mean in the terms of if you're a zombie, then in terms of what you were saying about categorizing, right? The three categories would have been they accept life for what it is, don't ask no questions, don't look like take a step back and look at it, right? But then there's the people that dive their toe into like the, they dive their little toe in to the little deep end of the pool and they realize it's too cold for them and they pull back out. And then there's the people that are fully interested in like psychologists, basically, right? Like fully psychologists, if that makes sense.
Oh, you mean the field in general?
But yeah, it was like, what was the difference? I think the question was.
I think the difference between the three of the types of people that study psychology, think they study psychology, and just kind of see a therapist on the side. One of the biggest things I think from a professional psychologist is they put in a lot of work. Therapists usually go through like 12 years of schooling.
That's insane.
And
that's
when
like
they finish,
teacher level, isn't it?
Yeah, they become PhDs or PsyDs. Some of them are even medical doctors. If you talk to a psychiatrist, they prescribe medications.
It is like a scientist thing, so well, not kind of like it is. It's literally a scientist thing, so it's actually more. It's probably more than what most teachers would go through, but it's kind of similar.
It is a science. You do have, like I said, metrics and math involved in determining statistics or outcome. You have a vague, not even vague, but an intricate understanding of how the brain works, why it functions the way it does. You have years worth of sociology and psychology under your belt.
Sociology, PTSD.
And then there's some people. What do you know about sociology?
Well, not to brag, no, but I took it in high school, so I got like a little bit there.
Well, I've always considered sociology to just be psychology on a bigger scale.
A bigger scale? From what I got from it, I guess it's because it was in high school and it was a GCSE but over here, GCSE, if you don't know, for Americans, GCSE is like what you take at the end of high school, so it like determines your grade. I know like you guys grade stuff over there differently. Yeah, so I took that, not by choice, it was like last resort because it was either that or art, and I was like, the amount of coursework that goes into art, I'm not doing all that. So I took sociology and I actually got interested into it. I didn't choose it chose me, really. I actually kind of got interested.
Budding sociologist here.
Yeah. I don't know about
it is a fascinating science.
I don't know about keeping with sociology, but it did dip my toe into like the where and why behind some stuff.
Yeah, you see, like it's psychology is, I say large and small scale, but psychology normally focuses on the individual, maybe small family groups, small, relations between them.
You just neuron activation.
Oh?
You just brought back, like there was like the intermediate family, the extra, we were learning all about like the different types of families and that. We did dip our toe into that.
Oh yeah, there is some overlap. There is a bit of overlap in a lot of the studies. They're both social sciences. They deal with humanity. Psychology usually focuses on the individual though. And sociology focuses on the broader picture.
That's why
families interact with each other, how society functions.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. It's like if it was smaller because you're looking at a bigger picture than looking at the individual. But that's just kind of like I guess common interpretation. Or it might just be me. It might just be me.
For me, that's a common interpretation as well. What do you, what inspires you about psychology, Gex?
Psychology, what inspired me? Not to glaze or anything, right? But kind of just you. I can't lie. Like, I was already, I was in the time when I was started to think about the mind, right? I don't know why. I don't know where I got it from, but I started learning about the mind out of like curiosity, right? And you heard the time when I came to you about the pineal gland and all that, right?
Oh, yes, yeah.
It was during that I was just learning about the brain. Like I was doing all that, like trying to learn about it a bit. Not really smart about it, right? But just like on a simple term, like learning about the biology of the brain, like the sense of structure.
What did you learn?
I learned there's a lot more parts of the brain than just the left side and the right side.
It's an understatement.
For sure.
Huge understatement.
For sure.
Got the hippocampus, the prefrontal cortex, the cortex, you got all of that stuff there. The cerebellum, the cerebrum.
I spent like a whole day like searching up and writing down a load of stuff about it. I don't remember where I wrote it down, but
It's interesting too. A lot of the things that we know about the brain, like for example, the visual area, the prefrontal cortex, you know, a lot of what we know is because people have had damage to those areas.
That's
and we
great.
can look at it
That
and
makes
see
sense,
that,
though,
like, you
doesn't
know,
it?
they're
'Cause
blind.
what if you never like even thought to look that? Because like you wouldn't even know it exists, right? That's probably like, I don't know. Maybe that's a whole different like topic, I guess. But like, not to go off on a tangent, but to me that sounds like that's how we would first like discover stuff. Because if you didn't hit something, how would you know there's something wrong with it? If you didn't hurt something, you wouldn't know that it exists or the difference between. Yeah, and more so the brain, because if you hurt something there, you gotta go inside of the head. Like it's not available to the eye, is it?
No, one of the biggest case studies, and I say big, is if anyone listening has delved into psychology at all, they've probably heard. Are you familiar with the story of Phineas Gage?
No.
He was a railroad worker. And one day, an accident happened on the job where a rail spike shot through his eyeball and out the back of his head. You would think that would be a fatal accident.
Don't tell me he survived. What?
He survived.
That's
and
crazy.
From that point onward, you know, he could do some. Oh yeah, there's parts of the brains you can completely remove and still function. What? But he was altered. His personality was
alive.
Altered significantly. Yes. It's kind of funny when you think about it that way.
It kind of
the Frankenstein's monster.
I remember watching that in English in black and white. I literally watched like the 1960 version. I was like, oh my God.
Not to get too sidetracked, but it's kind of the whole zeitgeist of that time period was that, you know, we transcend life or death by biology. It was really different. You know, like today everyone's like, we're going to join the cloud with the computer AI. Back then they were just, you know, they were just discovering how the brain had electrical impulses and things like that. And they figured they could keep it alive.
Crazy how it all changes, huh?
Yeah.
That quickly.
Zeitgeist, the change of the times, the ghost of the times.
Time will move on without you if you don't move with it.
True.
But
you have any more questions for me?
To move on to the next question before we get sidetracked again. Geez, that was a long question. But for the next one, when did psychology become a part of your life? This is a smaller question, but it's still a little depth to give the listeners some understanding of your background to psychology. You don't have to go that deep, but just to give a little insight why you're interested.
Young. I've had family members and friends who have been eccentric their whole lives. Honestly, only relatively recently have I delved into psychology as a potential career option. But it's always affected me in some way, shape, or form. I've always been around people that most would consider a little abnormal, and it just interested me at the time to learn a bit more about it.
Fair enough. That makes sense. Like to add to what you're saying, I kind of in a way relate to that, because that's maybe what actually did send me down the path, though, right? Not career-wise, obviously, because I'm no Gilgamesh, but I do still live with, but I live with certain people that have certain behaviorism illnesses, right? Or I don't like saying illnesses because it sounds mean, but let's say dysfunctions.
They're a little eccentric.
Eccentric, I guess. Yeah, that makes sense. I live with two of them, people like that, right? So it kind of just made me a little bit interested into why they acted the way they do. So I'd like to understand them better and to help them better. Because if you can't beat them, join them, you know?
I think a lot of people get interest in psychology for that exact reason. They want to help people. They want to know how people can be helped. And a lot of the times you need to know where these behaviors and these thought processes and differences in development occur to do that.
Moving on from that, do we have any questions for me?
What have you learned today, Gex?
So far, what have I learned about psychology? Wilhelm Wundt was basically the father of psychology. So yeah, I learned that in Germany, pretty good one. I also did learn about kind of why I even set down this path, and you opened my eyes a little bit more to some of the sociology, to go off on a tangent there, because it reminded me of some stuff that I did learn through there, and the fact that they let us watch The Purge.
The Purge, really?
Yeah, they did a case study on The Purge. We only got halfway through it.
I can see how that might be a sociological question. I mean, the whole basis of that movie is so interesting.
Yeah, because it also pondered the question, and I don't know if you've probably heard this, but like the analogy of the human body as this, like the society as working as a human body.
Explain.
So like if one part of the body isn't functioning properly, then the rest of it just kind of like fails with it, depending on the importance of the section that failed.
Okay. So the dysfunctions of society manifest in the lack thereof of resources and things. Yeah, that's a sociological question for sure. that's sociology in a nutshell, actually. Did you watch the first one?
I don't know what one it was. I just know that we got halfway through it, and then she just never let us watch it again because we were doing everything else.
If you notice in the movie, I don't know how far you got into it, but they were banking on people evolving into monsters, but it wasn't happening. So they had to kind of
boost it,
prod the fire a little bit. Yeah, pour some gasoline on the fire, and that was a huge thing to me. I don't think it kind of gives an insight into the director's mind, right?
Sure, it does. Yeah,
he believes, or they believe that people are generally good and won't do terrible things just because society is.
I mean, if you lock a man in a room with just a can of petrol or gasoline in your sense and a match, and he has nothing else but them two things, one day, eventually, that room is gonna burn.
Raise a very valid point. A very valid point. Almost like a jigsaw puzzle thing. Jigsaw,
I want to play a game.
Yeah.
I wish you know what one regret I do have though, talking about sociology, I do wish that I was able to take philosophy, but I wasn't, because the next year up is like year 12, right? Or grade 12, or like that's when you're like, you get the option to go into that, right? It's like an option, but they call it sixth form over here instead of year 12 or anything. I don't know why. It's like because it's a different choice, I guess. I don't know. It was only for them that they got the choice for philosophy or psychology or stuff like that. Like they had them two lessons. We didn't get the choice, unfortunately.
You didn't have the choice.
But it's also because the year we were in, they took away the sixth form that year, so I didn't get the option to. I finished.
So there was some structural changes going on in your school.
Yeah, like we got a whole new building, basically, but they didn't cooperate, They didn't put in the sixth form, so they just got rid of sixth form and made it into like a academy, I think it was they were trying to go for.
Yeah, I believe that if you teach psychology and sociology and history and things like that at a young age, it's in the formative years, it really helps develop a person's character and their idea on how they can help society. It's important.
Yeah, I wish I had the choice. That's all. I mean, I could have, but I'd have to go like miles out of my way, and I was like, would it be worth it? Because at the time I wasn't as interested. But I was like, I was a tadpole. I was still a tadpole. I was a philosophical tadpole, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, really, one of the first tenets not tenets, but Socrates was huge on the idea that wisdom comes from realizing you know nothing. So in a sense, we're all
stripping everything away, stripping everything you knew away, and then starting back from square one. I was going to say, like, stripping away, like, knowledge, right? Truly getting your own version of knowledge is to learn everything from your parents, learn everything from everyone around you, like, grow up, I guess, until maybe you're 18 or something, and then stripping everything you once knew away, and then relearning, right? Like, relearning what it means to you, and then making your own assumptions and opinions.
We can totally talk about the allegory of the cave in one of these episodes.
I don't know what that means, but I'm down for it. Sounds interesting.
Well, do you think we should segment out?
Well, there's one last question though. It's just a brief one though. Who do you look up to most in psychology?
Not a single person.
If you had to give
Don't meet your
someone
heroes.
who interests you, I'm not saying you have to have one, but who's quite interesting? It's just like, I mean, you could give like a couple names if you want.
There's many great figures throughout the story or history of psychology. There's many key players that have helped develop the field by name or by force. But for the most part, it's built on thousands of other people doing the work. It's all built on everybody kind of doing something to advance the field. When you say, who do I look up to the most? It's kind of hard to say because as a field, still being relatively new in terms of sciences, right? There's a lot that we have uncovered and discovered about the human brain and how it works, how it functions, you know? I mean, the person that came up with the lobotomy got a Nobel Peace Prize.
Wouldn't.
So
Yeah.
when it comes to psychology, I'd say take the Gestalt approach and embrace every idea, but don't invest yourself in every idea.
Just like opinions. Just like opinions.
Yeah, you know, like
Choose
everyone in the field has some educated, I wouldn't say opinion, but they have an educated theory.
Well, yeah, I just meant in the sense like you choose your opinions, right?
You do get to
Whereas,
choose what it is you
or what you
believe.
follow.
There's actually a whole segment we can do on core belief systems.
That's gonna be one.
Like
that's
that.
gonna be a long one. That's gonna be a whole marathon, people. So if you're ready for that, nah, I'm joking. But you know.
But
yeah,
long story short, to answer your question, just never meet your heroes. It's almost always a bad time.
I mean,
you go in there anticipating one thing and expecting another thing. Personally, I look up to
psychology-wise, pretty sure most of the people that we would want to look up to are out of the picture, so to say. So I think we can. That was a bad joke, huh?
A little bit. Did you have fun?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, the editing part is going to be interesting.
That's what we have time for.
We'll catch you later.
Remember to add us to your playlist.
Give us a like.
Tell your friends.
Bye.
Bye.
Moving off.